Um, I assure you, I'm always holding up this pen and waving it around and waving my hands around and doing all this stuff. But give me 1 second. What I have to do is turn the autofocus off. Hold on, 1 second. Just make sure we're focused and turn it off. Okay, so autofocus is off, so that way you don't get that boom, boom, boom. Hopefully you don't. How's my hair? That's a good look. Okay, so I'm kind of giddy right now for 2 reasons, and the first reason is I have a whole bunch of coffee inside of me, so I'm just reeling on the caffeine. And the second reason is I'm about to receive a present, a really nice present. I won't tell you what it is. I'm sure all of you know what it is, but I'm about to receive one, and I'm just gonna be so happy to have it. And what I can tell you is you're gonna start seeing some really high definition video. I know it sounds stupid. Why would anybody need ultra high definition video? But on YouTube, I don't know. Maybe some of you like high definition things. I could probably name a couple of you like high definition things. But other than that, I felt like doing another episode of Videoism. And this one was kind of inspired by a conversation I had earlier with someone who was very concerned with sexism. I think these days, let's clear the table, and let's say that sexism is the discriminating against someone based on sex, on gender. You never want to use the word in the definition, right? So sexism is discriminating against somebody based on gender. And apparently there's a third gender now, or maybe 4 or 5. Who knows with the queer movement? I mean, if there is such a thing anymore, you'd say that there's, God, a slew, 10, 15, 20 different genders. I'm making fun of it, but it's serious. But I mean, come on, right? Growing up, there were only 2 genders, and then all of a sudden you come to a developed country, and wow, there's tons. Even as a gay man, you kind of feel overwhelmed sometimes, and depending on how active you are as well, and how open you are. Openness being described as not necessarily how accepting you are of different genders and different stereotypical type definitions of gender, but how open you are in terms of just simply understanding that there's different genders and different sexualities, etc., etc. Anyway, back to the point. Sexism. So I think these days there's a definite. There used to be a point in time where sexism dealt really mainly with women. There was a bias on the woman's on the side of women, in the fact that they seem to have been less than equally treated, throughout the ages. I'm sure that there's prehistory and certain tribes and different cultures that have normally held females as the dominant ones, or as equals, or as matriarchs, or whatever. But I'm talking about recent history. I think in recent history there's been this propensity of men, or society in general, women. I think women do it too, to a certain extent, to label women as inferior in whatever sense, and we still deal with it today because of wage inequality and wage inequity, or whatever, however you want to describe it, inequality, I'd say. But there's generally been this habit of basically treating women as if they were inferior in some sense to men. and I'm sure those types of things balance themselves out because you've always had this subtext of women controlling everything, the woman behind the man, blah blah blah. But when it comes down to sort of like the metrics or the metrics of judging if those things are real, you're talking about disparities in wage, disparities in political representation, disparities in in wealth and et cetera, or in how else in educational settings, in terms of education level, opportunities when it comes to certain types of jobs, and I have to mention that in the umbrella of irreligiosity or atheism, to be a little bit more specific, there seems to be this underrepresentation of women, and a lot of institutions are actually looking at actively bolstering their base of girls and women and females in their respective fields, science being one of them, prominent one, etc., etc., etc. But you gotta wonder today with sort of what I call I don't call it this, but I mean for exaggeration, I would say the death of feminism. You see this kind of almost this aggressive sort of move by women to sort of make up for decades of repression or suppression. I don't know. I've seen videos online about with women sort of using their power to sort of get into fist fights. It's kind of nuts. I remember. Most of the time, and from my contemporaries, they usually define feminism as sort of an understanding of the equality between men and women, or women and men, etc., etc. But I don't know. I think sometimes there's this wave of feminism that's probably even different from third wave, or that kind of even is ignorant to what feminism is, and it kind of goes into this aggressive sort of actively intrusive sort of fight, and I'm talking physical fights, so I don't know. I don't know, but I'm saying there's some sort of balance that has to be met, and where the meaning of feminism, where I was talking about in terms of true equality, etc., etc., you can see it coming into effect. You're seeing proportional representation in Parliament in Canada. You're seeing more and more women scientists, women atheists. So those levels are coming up. It's just I'm saying that there's this really young generation that has this I wouldn't say lack, but I'd say this somewhat of a disregard for the elitism of feminism, and a lack of understanding what maybe some of the older, more what the establishment is in terms of feminism, and almost like this pure disregard. But that's just my litmus test. I could be completely wrong, but I know that there is a feminism as pedagogy, or the pedagogy of feminism. Does have this sort of this sort of elitist sort of intellectual type construct, I feel, and I feel that that intellectual sort of elitist construct gets quickly broken down on the street, and not even quickly broken down on the street, but kind of thrown out, to tell you the truth. There is that old saying, intellectual, the world, the world is dying because of a lack of intellectualism. So I don't know. There might be a younger generation that has this disdain for intellectualism, and this disdain for the old school of thinking, and maybe even a misconstrued understanding of what feminism is. I don't know. I can't give you the answer. It's something I should probably look into, but I'm kind of busy looking into gay rights right now. So I'm sure it'll come in at some point. It'll insert itself somewhere in there. somewhere in that in the whole gay rights thing. So I'll get to it, but here's a stupid video for now. Anyway, that's all I gotta say. I gotta go get my present now, so bye.